Okay, we bought a bracket for the Char-lynn style steering motor, and it's going to need some adjustment. It doesn't quite meet the foot doesn't meet the tilt steering peg, so I'm going to have to do a little tweaking to that to get it down there where it needs to be. I think just a little bending. Nope, I got some crescent wrench right here. Uh-oh, there it's going, it's going. Better not get too wild. Let's try that. I'll go quench it and see how it fits. Okay, I gotta bring her down a little more. It is hitting the peg, but then when you push the button, the middle one's great, and then I gotta add a little more curl to it because the one where it'd be all the way up is dragging. So straighten that down a little more and then curl this other end up. Yeah, right there in the middle, man, that's beautiful. The whole thing was like that. All right, after lots of heating and tweaking and push the button down. Oh, look at that. Oop, went too far. Pops right in. Oop. Locks in there. That's the operating position. That's full up there. Right there. And there's the middle. Right there. I think that's going to work. That's nice and tight. So I think we've got her readjusted where we can start mounting the other stuff. Okay, starting to go together with this. We've got the little stub steering wheel adapter I get. There's the model of steering motor and where I got it from. And they also sell this stub shaft thing. You'll see shortly how I get her done. Here's the original Saginaw. Unfortunately, they are close, but not quite the same size. But I do have a solution for that. We're replacing the original wiring harness, or well, what's left of this bird nest of a wiring harness. We got a new one from Corvus Oliver. All the right color codes and basically just, and they even are nice enough. They always send a wiring diagram for, well, pretty much every model with it. Isn't that much cleaner? Wow, that's gonna be much better to work with. Well, it looks like this is coming down too far. I'm gonna have to tweak that foot. I'm glad I stuck it in there real quick to check fitment. I guess I just need to bend this leg a little bit for that foot to adjust so it comes up a little better. Well, I've got my fittings in place. I probably could eliminate one fitting by getting hose ends that have a 90-degree pipe tube thing in them. But I've already paid for all these, so we're going to use them. But it got me where I wanted to be, I guess, no for future applications. But the nice thing about it is the hoses, which I've got a hose maker, so it's kind of nice to have that. But just 3 JIC 6s on 3/8 hoses, male on one end, female on the other, and then a 1/2-inch hose that's a JIC 8, male and female, and nothing terribly complicated. Shouldn't be too hard to find them or have someone make them if anything blows out in the future, as opposed to the funky lines that are in there with all the steel tube bent around just right. That costs an arm and a leg. So I'm thinking in the long run this will be cheaper. I'm pretty happy with the way everything fit in there. I'll show you. It just misses this hose, but I thought I'd just put another piece of hose around it to protect it, just in case it moves around and rubs it a little bit. Even now it's just barely missing with the extra hose on there, so should be good. Put a piece of anhydrous hose along here to help keep these from chafing against the back of the frame here. Oh, there's a middle position. There's the all the way up. Steering motor is labeled nicely. P is pressure, so I got that coming from the hydraulics. T is tank, that's return on the open center Oliver. The oil from the return oil from the steering actually goes down to the hose or line and goes up through that loop up there. And that's your hydraulic cooler. And then from there it comes back and returns into the reservoir down here. And then these two are the steering. It's labeled, top one's left hand, or bottom one's right hand. Followed them through and I think I got them right, but I guess worst come to worst, we can either switch them up here, or probably be easier just to switch them down there. But I guess when we fire it up, we'll know if I got it right or not. You see here with the dash plate removed some. I've got them pretty much up. I could have brought them over the top of the bracket, but then they start getting close to the wiring and stuff. So I just got them up there as close as I could to then facilitate them following the axis or the plane of the mounting bracket, so they follow that when it pivots. Because if they were just sticking straight out when you tip, that would make the hoses move every time you tilted the steering. Right now, with them following along that bracket, they move very little. And they could even, if you just brought them straight out, it'd jam them into the bottom of the fuel tank. So there is a reason for that layout. If you were buy new hoses, when I did Herman, I got hoses from for brand new ones, but for a white 270, and they fit in there pretty nice. They were just a little short on the bottom end, but I made it work. But they do essentially the same thing, but it's all built into the hose with a steel line that goes up, loops around, and brings it back down in here. And this was a lot cheaper. There's more fittings, but I was able to tweak it exactly where I want, and for just a few bucks a fitting versus about $100 a hose. And then I just made up my own straight hose. I've got a hose machine. And so if the hose ever goes bad, it's just a JIC fitting on each end. And about an 18-inch hose on this particular tractor. So you could go to any Napa or something like that and get a new hose made up and not have to wait for either a new one from Agco and pay big bucks for that. About the only thing I might have done different was put tube elbows on the hoses. Those probably wouldn't have been too hard to find, but this worked. It's slightly different from what I did on Herman. Like I say, I bought those 270 hoses, and those looped up enough because there's only so much you can bend steel without kinking it off. They were I had to tweak them just a little bit. The one over here would just hit the throttle shaft, and I think the one did too. So this actually gives me a lot more clearance than the factory ones. So the only downside is just more fittings, and more fittings are potential leaks. But I'm willing to take that chance. Here's the steering tube. Cut off the tapered part and the splines and the nut part. And then I got online and I found this coupler that's 3/4 inch. 36 splines, which fits the little stub steering column I have with a set screw for the flat spot. Got my old Craftsman lathe going and cut a ring so that or back cut it, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so it stays centered up in the steering shaft, and then I'm gonna have my brother weld her together, clamp it together, and so we can try to keep everything nice and true. Good thing I put a set screw in there. Oh, looking sweet. See if I can fry my GoPro. Looks good. Looks good to me. Might not be good, but it looks good. Okay, my brother got the doohickey welded on there. It's got my 3/4 inch 36 splines, which matches the short steering column adapter I've got. And then came with a set screw, but the set screw that was in it would have been flush, which was all right, but I put a longer one in it so I can have a jam nut to lock it for good. So then we just slide this baby on and make sure we line up the set screw with this flat spot. And my set screw is in too deep. Okay, you can see where I ground a little bit off for the jam nut to have a good surface there. But oh, I'm off by a spline. It looks like there. That looks nice and flat. Tighten that baby up. That makes that nice and solid. Put this nut on here to jam it. Lock it into place. And I got a piece of tubing coming to make a shim. This, there's a slight difference. This is like 1.52 and the Saginaw unit is like 1.62. So about 1/10 of an inch. So I got some 16 gauge tubing coming. It's supposed to be here today that I'll put in here, and then I'll put a muffler clamp on it back here to help make it more solid, and then they'll use the regular clamp that came with it here. And it's not a huge difference. Guy could probably add a couple or widen the slots that are in this and just clamp it down some more, or crush it. But I'm going to put that spacer. That's what I did on the one for Herman. Just make it a little more solid. But then once that's all done, then I can poke her up through the dash and finish it up. I've got my, I guess you'd call it a shim spacer, just to take up the difference between this tube and that. Had some stainless steel exhaust pipe coming to make it out of, and it hasn't shown up yet. So I'm going to put this in here for now, so I can get this project back together. Let's see. So I leave a slit here, and then and I try to put it towards the bottom of what will be the bottom. So if any moisture collects in here, it's got a little spot to escape. And then just slide the tube on over. I said slide the tube on over. And I try to line the slot up with the other slots. Once again, any moisture can escape out the bottom. I put it's an 1.5 hose, or I'm sorry, muffler clamp on there to just secure that shim piece better. That's like 16 gauge metal. That's just thick enough. I just cut a piece out of a flat piece I had and rolled it around there, and then on these original clamps, they originally had this spacer right here and there, which is really kind of a dumb idea because it limits how far the clamp can clamp down. I don't know what their thoughts were on that, but so I take that little spacer and chuck it. And then usually I end up grinding just a little bit off these two ears, which I still have to do just to get that clamp to be able to clamp down good. And then slide her on and tighten her up. So I'll do that little bit of cutting on these ears, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, before I put this on here, I did take the hacksaw and go across and put another slot on 180 degrees out just to give the tube a little more room to crush, lock on good. So got this clamp on, got this slot lined up with the slot below it. Once again, any moisture gets in there, it should be able to kind of drain out through there. And just need to tighten the clamps up. I've got the beauty plate on there. Everything seems good and solid. I am going to get a CR 8624 seal to put up in here to seal the shaft. I got some coming, but I don't have them here at the moment. But from everything I measured, it should fit in there good. So I think it's to the point where I can poke it back in the tractor and see how she's gonna fit. Cap off from the column here, and it's just friction fit. I just use a screwdriver and tapped up, keep working it around until it slides off. So I did some measuring in a CR 8624. Fits nicely in the cap there. Want the lip facing up, and that'll help keep the rain and moisture and other crud out. And you just well, you put it back on the column first, but you want to be careful sliding that on because it could tear it up. But get that shaft in there, and then you got a nice seal to keep moisture from going down in there and ruining everything. Pretty simple fix. Just a little wiggle on the pivot pins because I haven't put the jam nuts on to keep them tight, so they keep wiggling loose on me from me pivoting it. But oh yeah, she's good and tight there. And then, oop, yeah, turn the knob, telescope in, and lock it in. Yeah, she's good and solid. Cool. It is complete. Other than if I messed up and got the steering lines backwards. We think we got that followed out good. But got the bracket that I got from Maibach. Had to do some tweaking on it to get the foot to reach down there right. Some fittings. I can list them. I got them from a place called Clearwater Hydraulics in Idaho. They're online, and that's got a good selection of stuff and good prices. I'm sure you can find a lot of this stuff at a local hydraulic store if you got one nearby. But JIC 8 and 6 fittings. And then, like I say, I've got a hose machine, so I made my own hoses, but two of them were 18 inches long, one was 20 inches long, and the return or tank line that goes to the cooler, that was longer yet, and that was 30 inches, that's right. But it could vary between models, how long your hoses end up being, or if you end up routing them different, but this seems to work pretty good. I've had the tank in just to make sure everything was going to clear all right, and I think I've got footage of that already. But I've got the pivot pegs all tightened up and set. And it seems to be good and tight. The whole dash moves when I run like this, which I think the dash bolts are a little loose. Also the tank ain't in on these. The tank ties in with the dash to help secure it. Let's loosen our chrome knob up here, and that's good. There's air in the pump right now, so it turns pretty easy. Oh, it is hooked up right. It sucked enough oil out. Look. Oh, yeah. I'm turning left, and the wheels are turning left. Yay me. Awesome. First tilt stop, top tilt stop. There's only 3 stop positions in it. Yeah, that's nice and solid. I like it. I just got to get that seal in to put in on the shaft in here, which all I got to do is pull the steering wheel back out, which we've seen how easy that is. then just tap this cap off, drive the seal in it, put it back in. All right, first fire up since the installation of the new clutch and the new steering system, or a few other odds and ends, clean it up. So let's see what she does.
The heater, preheater.
Oh, you are? It's warm out. Seeing any leaks. See how much effort it takes. Oh yeah, that's about right. That's nice. That's my conversion. Thanks everybody for watching. Here comes Alan.